everybody, Deborah Lynn here. Today we're gonna do a very loose, very fast painting here. I'm going to take you along with me on my morning journey here of getting some flowers down. Again, I'm working intuitively. I have no idea, no preconceived ideas of flowers. These don't even really particularly look like anything. They are just very, very loose. Although I do know that I need to throw green down, right? Okay, flowers and leaves, green. So that's coming into play. I'm just throwing some of that down here in the middle of my sheet of Fabriano Artistico paper. It's cold press, 100% cotton. I highly recommend working on 100% cotton when you are working with this amount of water. It definitely is less frustrating. If you're working on pulp paper, just know that it's going to fight you. Random buds going down here. I'm just kind of letting the paintbrush dance in my hand where it wants. But I'm also kind of studying the paper as to, okay, this is what's going down. Where does it maybe need a little bit more? And I just play around with that a little bit more there. Now I'm just dropping in a couple other colors, right? First of all, the first color was Indian yellow. Now I have Scarlet Lake and Permanent Red Deep going down, both Magello paints. That's all found in the description box. If you go to that little pull down little arrow, a description box will open up on the right hand side. And if you hit where it says more, you click on that, it'll expand that whole area, and then you can find the link there. It says Amazon Shop. That's where you go to find all the suggested materials. And this right here is olive green going down. I am using the applicator tip to this paint. Okay, and I'm scribbling and I'm just drawing and I'm dropping in pigment and just working intuitively and letting it do its thing, and then I have to respond to it. So how do I deal with this now? Well, I'm just going to grab a little bit more of that olive green, and I'm just going to make just a little bit more sense of it by adding just a little bit more in, bringing in a little bit more of that darker value, balancing things out a little bit. So now I've got that lighter green and I have that really dark green. So I have both of those kind of playing off of each other. And this is iridescent hot tamale. It's kind of a coral kind of color. I throw that into the painting a little bit. The apricot, the lighter color, I end up doing some of my spider webs that you'll see that coming into play here in a minute. A while ago, I went into someone's garden that they had, and I wanted to photograph and be inspired. And I walked away saying, I never realized to the extent of how busy spiders are in flower gardens. And there were so many spider webs. I was just really, really inspired by it. And I'm finding that a lot of my art, one of my aesthetics that I like to do is to build these flowers, but then connect them all with these spider webs. So you'll see me doing that right there. I'm manipulating the paper. I'm trying to get all these colors to kind of blend on their own. Although I'm doing a little bit of blending, I'm also letting the watercolors take me on a journey here. Okay, but I have to control things. If you don't control it, the watercolor will take over and do its own thing, and it can get away. It can definitely get away from you. So I'm putting down 1-ply toilet paper. Okay, not the 2-ply because it's too quilted and it will leave an impression on your paper. I use the 1-ply, you can see through it, and it doesn't typically have that heavy quilting on it. Some of them don't even have a quilt on it. And this one, I'm lucky, doesn't even have a quilt on it. And I'm just going in and randomly tapping and picking up those puddles. But once I release this paper off the top, it has now created different values. Also, it's kind of calmed everything way back down. I built it up and then I calmed it down. So now I have to go in and I have to build on top of this now that I've controlled the water, which is really important when you're working with loose watercolor. You have got to learn how to control the water. And one of the ways to control the water is with that one ply paper. Now here I'm starting to make some of these like loose lines. I'm using my liner brush. This is kind of the webbing that I'm talking about that starts happening, where everything is kind of like all kind of sewn together by the spiders. So you'll see me doing my little spider sewing here. And I there's something about it, I just really, really love dragging my brush through what I just painted. I don't know why. I find it fun. And that's the thing. Somebody asked me, how do I find my own style? Well, it takes a lot of experimenting, and like I said, I mean, I went out there in the real world and was photographing and really getting connected with my subject, and then going back in to my studio and working and experimenting, and it all kind of comes out of you. So your style doesn't really evolve from copying a lot of stuff. Your style kind of emerges from you playing around and experimenting, and everybody's brushwork is a little bit different than the other person's brushwork, and we're all unique, just like our handwriting's unique. Our brushwork is all different. So those things will kind of set you apart. And now I'm just bringing in some green into certain areas. I'm kind of putting some bases to some of the flowers and connecting and making some stems and kind of making sense of what's going on here, so the viewer can see, okay, this looks like this must be a flower attached here. I can see the stem. What kind of flower it is, I have no idea. But all that information isn't really necessarily needed. You'll have to let me know what you think of this very loose watercolor. I would say it's on one of my very, very loose lists. But I really enjoyed the colors. The colors were a really pretty combination. I really love that Indian yellow is just so beautiful. The hot tamale is one of my new favorites. And I mean, that Scarlet Lake by Magello is also fantastic. Just absolutely love it. And of course, one of my favorite greens, of course, well, two of them, are azo green and olive green. Of course, I like other ones. I like green apatite genuine. I like a lot of greens. I just don't like them to look artificial. Here I'm sewing my webs together. Now I'm using that apricot color, so it's kind of a fleshy color. I chose to not do green. Sometimes I'll just use the green. But this time I thought I would change it up and just do that in this apricot color. It's kind of, like I said, it's like a very blushy color. And that's kind of within the painting already, and it just kind of played up really nice. And you don't have to do this. This is just something I like to do to set me apart with my art. So I'm going to go in and I'm just going to just add a little bit more depth in some of the centers of the flowers and build them up. Like that one right there just needs some work. I'm just going to drop in some green. I'm just going to drop in some reds, some yellows. I'm just kind of wake up some of these flowers and kind of make just a little bit more sense out of them. Just by adding just a little bit more information without getting tight. Okay, I still want it to be really, really loose. And I'm throwing some of that pigment into areas that is really wet. And I will have to control it with a little bit of tissue paper. You'll see that also come into play here in just a moment. I don't know if you guys are picking up on that sound in the background, but right outside the door where I'm sitting, I have got a squirrel that is so busy getting ready for the fall, but he's so noisy and he gets so mad. The other day I went out there to do something in one of my planters, and I swear he must have something hidden in one of those planters because he got so mad at me. He was yelling at me. Are you mad? Okay, I had to take a moment there and introduce you to the little noisemaker outside my window or my door. That is Sammy the squirrel, okay? And he had definitely needed to say what he needed to say, although I have no idea what he's talking about. If anybody understands squirrel, please let me know what he was saying in the comments. Please give the little attention seeker a thumbs up on this video. He wants to be world renowned and he wants everybody to know all about him. So he is now officially on YouTube, and he thinks he's the hot one in the neighborhood, and everybody is going to want his autograph. So he just thinks he's just the cat's meow. Okay, so now let's get back to what I'm doing. What I am doing at the moment is I mixed a little bit of indigo with some of the green, and I'm creating just a darker value of green. I want to really set the depth of just some key areas where I feel that it's needed. I kind of judge that by just kind of looking at the painting and balancing things out. I don't want one section of the painting to be really light and airy and the other one heavy and dark. It needs to be balanced out. So you have to look at that and judge for yourself of where your paints are and everything. And if you're going to go in and add those depths, just know that you probably need to not just do it in one spot, but you need to move around the painting and do it in different locations and balance things out. So that's what's going on right now. And just putting just a couple more stems in here. And I backed off some of that green in that location because what was happening is it was so wet there that everything I was dropping in was dispersing. But I went in and I blotted it, And I think there's just a little bit more control there now in that area as things have started to dry just a little bit. And then I picked up some of that pigment. I've got a little bit more control in that area. Okay, you guys, well, that's it for the painting. In the meantime, stay safe out there, stay well, and God bless. Bye for now.